My M22, GF, f23, was either assaulted or cheated last night.
Last night my GF was going to a grill party with a few of her friends and their significant others and one of their brothers. Before the night she told me that one of the people participating was the brother of one of her friend's boyfriend and that she was a bit skeptical of him because she knew that he used to hit on other girls even though he had a girlfriend. I called her around 23 to ask how she was doing and tell her that I was going to bed soon, but she didn't answer, and she usually always answer, even when out with friends. I get a message from her around 4:30 that she's home. I then wake up around 9 and go on about my day until I get a text from her telling me to call her.
She explains that the brother of one of the BFs followed her to the bus home and went home with her. She says they did not sleep together and that she to stop him and claims she didn't do anything and that he only touched her while she tried to stop him. I then said to my GF that if that was the case we needed to press charges ASAP. She first said yes and now she refuses to do so because she doesn't want him to get any consequences and just don't want to see him again. I then said that if that was the case and she didn't press charges we were done as a couple, because that way she is indirectly saying she was in on it. She goes on to says that she weren't in on it, but when I press more she changed her story, said she may have given some wrong signals.
I then hung up the phone and now am being spammed with messages saying how she loves me and to please pick up. My GF and I do not live together, and I have been cheated on before, so I will not stay with her if she have even a slight part of the blame. However, if it was assault I will support her, but the condition is that she press charges, but as I already have mentioned, she refuses and claims I'm being unfair. What do you guys think of the situation and do you have any advice on what to do next? I have been cheated on before by another long-term GF and it left me with severe depression and I do not think I can stay with her anymore if that's the case.
Edit. I have answered some questions in the comments that may shed some more light on the situation and will copy my answers in here. English isn't my first language, so that may be why the story is a little hard to read. A little more info, and she said that everyone else had gone to bed and they stayed up a little longer in the garden, before he offered to follow her to the bus stop, which she accepted. She then said that he got on the bus with her and started asking to go home with her and touching and kissing her, and that she willingly let him into her apartment and that he slept in the bed with her while they were both really drunk.
Who is the guy? I have met the guy that she was with tonight before at another of this friend's parties. We had a great time and he seemed nice enough. He's 27 or 28 years and is the brother of the girl who invited my GF. Why weren't I there? They didn't specifically say I weren't invited. At least that I am aware of. My GF's friend just called my GF and invited her. So she may have invited me, but in that case my GF didn't tell me. But prior to this I had no reason to doubt her and feel a need to be there. I met them all for the first time, including the brother, around 6 months ago at a move-in party for my GF's friend, and everything went great. So I thought she would have a good time and be a little hungover, but nothing more. I think your girlfriend cheated on you. With that being said, refusal to press charges does not mean that it didn't happen. Pressing charges is typically more harmful than helpful to SAW victims. And justice is rare. I personally have been SAW'd around 6 times and have never pressed charges for these reasons.
This is not assault. This the morning after regrets after cheating. Dump her and move on.
Save yourself the trouble and leave. It's obvious she cheated, because why let him go home with her, and she's trying to explain before it come out through one of the other friends. The legal systems in Scandinavia isn't as messed up as the US. So you can't really compare those. Other commenters. Listen, I am a very logical person. She said that everyone else had gone to bed and they stayed up a little longer in the garden before he offered to follow her to the bus stop, which she accepted. She then said that he got on the bus with her and started asking to go home with her and touching and kissing her, and that she willingly let him into her apartment and that he slept in the bed with her while they Both were really drunk. Look, either she cheated or she put herself in a very dangerous position and has no respect for your relationship, and frankly neither is good for a life partner. She let him follow her home. Let him in and let him sleep in her bed. Like seriously. Look, I think you already know the answer. Don't let people shame you into staying. Can't say for sure what the case is here, but just because she doesn't want to press charges doesn't mean she was in on it or wanted things to happen. I'm confused by the story. He followed her home? Did he come inside her home with her? That's not assault. That's them mutually hanging out. She would have had to willingly let him in. Or did he just follow her to her door without her consent? That's weird AF. If he didn't come inside with her and was more like stalking her, that isn't her fault. Even if she gave wrong signals, a woman can be nice to a man without being stalked afterwards. Maybe she just doesn't want to go through the hassle of the legal process. It's embarrassing and painful. Or maybe it was more mutual than she's letting on, and that's why she won't press charges. It's hard to say without knowing the full story. Regardless of what happened after they got to hers, she allowed this guy to go back with her late at night. That alone is not trustworthy. Sexual assault is a very serious thing and can be really confusing for the victim. Maybe she is lying. Or maybe she made bad decisions that were unfair to you and it was assault. Maybe you can have a conversation to talk to her about what you think was wrong on her end. And you can certainly end the relationship if that's best. But also let her know you care about her, and if any sexual assault did happen, then she can choose if she wants to report it, do talk therapy, etc. Predators are often nice guys. They charm their way past your defenses and then keep pushing till they get what they want. If he stated from the beginning, "My intentions are to get you drunk and follow you home and sleep with you," would she agree? Probably not. But notice the steps he takes. Gradually placing himself closer and closer to his goal. Befriends her. Stays up with her talking. Offers to walk with her. Invites himself in. Sleeps with her. All the time he is so nice, making it harder and harder to say no. I hate these posts. If she was assaulted, it could take her days or years to come to terms with what really happened. And yes, telling yourself you cheated with a pushy guy is less scary than saying you were assaulted. Anyways, either give her time to come to terms with the truth, then make your decision. Or just leave now. Reddit isn't a good place for the day after story, which might change drastically in the next week as she gets her memory back and starts to feel safe to actual face what happened. And yes, she could also be a cheater. But if she says she thinks she was assaulted, I'd believe her and give her time. To add, there are a lot of negatives for victims in going to the police. Not wanting to go to the police does not mean she wasn't assaulted. Sounds to me like a persistent older guy wouldn't leave your girlfriend alone and she waits to. Drunk, nice, intimidated, whatever to tell him off, and he took advantage of that. I don't know how the law against rape in your country works, but in countries where I have lived, it is never that easy to do it and often re-traumatizes the victim. And even if the incident was non-consensual, only very specific cases have enough evidence and are the right circumstances to make it to the courtroom. But even then, the court ruling favors the rapist or the punishment is too light. Your girlfriend's situation would be one of those where even if she internally felt violated by what happened, because of how her actions can be interpreted by people who have never experienced sexual assault, it would be difficult to press charges. It's a rough situation. I didn't press charges on my BFF because I told him no. But he did it anyways under the guise of he thought I was playing hard to get. I knew I should have never been in the situation to begin with because I had a BF and I knew my BFF wanted me like that. I assumed I could just reject him and we could still hang out and it would be okay. It was not. I took a plan B and was never alone with that person again, but also didn't want to live this. Embarrassing. Well, why were you there? Why didn't you leave? So you wanted the attention? What were you wearing? You knew what he wanted. Why did you let him do it? Fucking fear and stupidity. After I figured it was a misunderstanding or somehow it was my fault and just wanted to put it behind me. I'm never alone with any man ever now. Just because it doesn't add up to you doesn't mean you have a say in anything other than, do I stay or do I leave? Leave her and leave her alone if you must. But trying to force her to do something she's not comfortable with just to prove it was assault is a dick move. You don't have to believe her and she doesn't have to prove it to you. Just walk away. Believe what you want and leave her to whatever she is saying. If your response is, but I don't want to leave her, then that's on you, but you can't manipulate things to line up to make it easier for you to stay. If she did cheat and just can't own it, an innocent man could go to jail. If she was assaulted but no one believes her, she could go to jail or be re-traumatized. Best for you to just walk away for your own peace of mind. Acquaintance rape can be very confusing and humiliating for the victims. Can't tell you when or whether her initial yes turned into a no, but I can tell you to cut her some slack and wait to see what happens next. Even if it was saw. Why are you staying with someone who invited another man into her apartment late at night? I was raped in college and did not tell my boyfriend or anyone really for exactly this reason. I thought I'd be blamed. After all, I was hanging out with a guy alone and drunk. But the truth is, and it has taken me years to admit it, I was violently assaulted and it was not my fault. Like your girlfriend, I did not want to bring drama and risk into my life of going to the authorities. I did not want people judging me for perceived flirting or asking for it. I did not want my sexual history to be scrutinized. I did not want the rapist or his family to know my name, face and blame me for destroying his life. I could imagine being harassed or even harmed. I don't know the truth about what happened to your girlfriend. It's okay for you to break up if she crossed a boundary of bringing a guy home. But I wanted to offer the perspective of what I went through as a victim in case you see it in your heart to believe her. If you do trust her and her story, I don't think it's a fair requirement to demand she press charges. I know that it seems straightforward from the male point of view, but you can't underestimate how punishing and awful the experience can be for a victim with little likelihood of justice. It's reasonable to not want to, and you shouldn't pressure her. That's her choice, and I don't think it's incriminating to not want to. Whether or not you trust her and her story is a completely different issue I'm not going to weigh in on. If she didn't like the touching and kissing, she wouldn't have let him in her home. She cheated long before it even got close to Saw. It's possible that she was Saw after she let him into the house, but the damage was already done to the relationship by then. I found out my ex-wife was cheating on me. We started dating after our divorce, and one of the guys showed up at my house looking for her. She told me he forced himself on her. I ended up getting into a lot of trouble for confronting him in a not-so-nice way, only to find out later she was lying. If it sounds too convenient, just break up with her. There's no reason for another man to be sleeping over in any house with a woman in a relationship, or vice versa. She then said that he got on the bus with her and started asking to go home with her and touching and kissing her, and that she willingly let him into her apartment and that he slept in the bed with her while they both were really drunk. I mean, really? If you believe that, then I have bridge in London which I can sell you. Move on, dude. Cheating is an abuse. You are super young. You do not need to have this drama in your life. Find someone who understands love and boundaries and will not take another person back to their apartment. You deserve better. It may be between the two options. She did flirt and played with the limits of cheating, agreeing to have him in her home and her bed, to feel desired and powerful. But when she said no, because she didn't want a full-on cheat, just play with it, he didn't listen, so it is assault indeed. Let's imagine she was single, for example. At any point, you can resent consent, and telling so should stop your partner from going further. She did voice her refusal, but he did not listen. Agreeing to have him in her bed was not giving consent for being touched against her repeated no. So, indeed assault. But, whatever the country, reporting assault is very hard. Not only because of legal concerns, but mainly because of psychological hardship. Some victims manage to do it, some don't. Most blame themselves, not only for how their behavior may have led to the assault, but for their behavior during the assault. Many don't want to be seen as victims in some way. Reporting yourself as a victim, they see themselves as victims forever. It is a deep psychological trauma, and I recommend therapy to go through it. All that being said, she was not single, so even if she was indeed assaulted, her behavior before the assault was already too far for a monogamous relationship. Inviting him in her home and in her bed was already too much emo. It doesn't mean she was not assaulted, and that she deserved it or asked for it, but it means that she did have a behavior that was disrespectful to your relationship and to you as her partner. So, although I think you can't conclude she won't report it so she wasn't assaulted, you can still be upset by her disrespect for your couple. Let me be clear, she didn't ask for an assault. Whatever her behavior was, it's not her fault. The guy could apply for any gender. Didn't listen to her, no.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Cast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.